All right, sorry about that. My super cool ISP is all about good service. So I'll be honest with you, I'm not 100% on what it's going to take to get this changed. My personal preference would be to drop my ISP as soon as possible, but I am aware of the fact that I will need some kind of replacement, and I know that usually involves somebody coming to the apartment to set things up. And to be completely frank, I do not have the time to do that. That is, in fact, the only reason why I'm currently with this provider. But that just means that one day when I have the time, I am going to give myself the treat of a call where I finally sever the connection. For those of you that don't recall, this is a couple of streams ago now, but not only did I have a similar problem to this, but their version of a solution was to try and sell me another internet package. I, like I said, will be so incredibly happy to to give them all the reasons why I will not be coming back. Um, I believe with work I may get a discount on my phone, which actually requires me to um, they don't give it to new, or they only give it to quote unquote new activations. So I may even go so far as to cancel the phone alongside. But again, it's nice to fantasize about this stuff, but I do actually need to make sure that I don't create more missed streams because of these problems. Anyways, it means it's going to be a multi-episode, multi-episode broadcast on the. Why are you tabbing out? On YouTube, but I will try not to drag down the stream too much. Now, one drawback is I was kind of hoping that I would do a small break and get myself some more coffee. Okay, I think it's going to be tabbing out a few times. Now, it looks like... Okay, yeah. So, I don't know if the video went through, but basically there was a Scarlet Chorus group up here who basically said I needed to talk to the censor before I could make any progress. So that's where we're going to head now. I am really uncomfortable with the frame rates I'm seeing here. If you could just give me a second. This might be because there's a bunch of stuff on my machine that's still loading, but... And again, I do apologize for the lumpy start. I probably should have, in hindsight, just waited till everything was loaded to get the stream up and running again. But I was rather eager to try and get back into things. I can log into a few things while I'm doing that too. There's one more that's probably going to tab me out, which I'm just trying to wait on. Okay, maybe two more. Blizzard is one of the offenders. think this is what I get for not writing "trust this device" on a bunch of my stuff, but okay. I think I should be ready to go. I realize this doesn't make for the most stimulating... Oh, hang on. Okay. That should be it. Yeah, so I might take a small break after this, but we will... I'll try and get some momentum and find a proper break point. The soldier walking past catches a glimpse of you and immediately points her spear towards you. A censor will be very interested in your presence, Fatebinder. She's near the entrance of the library. Go, now. We don't recognize your authority here, Fatebinder. One word from the censor, and your body will be on one of those spikes. We're watching you, Fatebinder. One wrong move, and you're done. Oh. Stay your weapons. This is Tunon's Fatebinder. The censor makes a swift motion to her soldiers, then pauses to look you up and down. What a complicated pleasure it is to find you in my camp. Now, what would Ash's plaything want with my library? Wasn't enough to betray Narat and side with that rule-brown control freak? And are you here to try and take away this too? She doesn't seem particularly happy that you decided to throw your lot in with the disfavored instead of the Scarlet Chorus in the battle at the battle in Vendrian's Well. The only reason I've instructed my soldiers to show restraint is because of the sensitive operation ongoing in the ruins, one that I don't intend to disturb. The players in that little game have enough to keep themselves occupied. With that said, I wouldn't hesitate to kill you if it proved necessary, so... why don't you tell me what you're doing here, and we'll see how this goes? I'm here for the Silent Archive, not for any of you. She knots her brow and considers your words. How did you know about... Never mind. The Silent Archive is a chorus matter to be dealt with on our terms. You won't be getting inside the burning library while I'm here. This is your chance to leave with your life intact. I suggest you take it. Now, as much as I enjoy entertaining your company, I need every man and woman here to continue scouring the library. If you would do me the honor of making yourself scarce, I can refocus on more important matters. I was rather hoping I would do the other dialogue options, but I'm here to search the library. Let me pass. Absolutely not. The library is too important to let the likes of you inside. I don't have time to discuss the matter further. You are free to leave. If you step further into my camp, then I will find it a more expedient way to deal with you. Sorry to decline your hospitable offer, but I've got all the information from you I need. She rolls her eyes, unperturbed by your aggression. I don't have time for this nonsense. There's a time and place for bloodlust, and sadly, I've got an operation to oversee. We're under attack. Kill the Fatebinder. Throw yourselves at him if you must.
I'm on it.
Are you afraid of death? I'm afraid.
Do need to get Lantry out of harm's way, but
Consider it done. I'm not entirely useless. Will do.
okay, let's get verse. I got a few things I need verse to do, but let's get Lantry protected first.
You got it.
Okay, I don't get why Lantry's not moving, but this probably just killed him. So second best, we do the combo. Not a moment too soon.
Got it. This is embarrassing. I got it. Take that!
I'll tear your skeleton out by your ass.
Okay, works for me. We'll probably have some more combat ahead of us in other parts of the region, but
On it.
not that we're carrying anything.
Sorry,
huh?
I can't.
This passageway has been blocked by a magical field. It isn't clear on how to remove it. The disfavored soldier sags heavily against her robe, emaciated and weak. Her clothes reveal her to be one of the Oathbound. Fatebinder, you're no enemy of the disfavored. My life is worthless, but perhaps you can help my brethren. Please. What happened to you? I came here with a unit of Oathbound scouts and our leader Merrick. We were trying to locate the Silent Archive. When we saw that the place was overrun with Scarlet Chorus, we resolved to destroy the archive so that its contents didn't fall into the wrong hands. I crept along the surface while others descended into the library's depths. As the hours dragged on, I got clumsy. Someone caught wind of me, and a man they called Murmur has been my tormentor ever since. She grimaces in introspection. He was keen enough to know that Oathbound can feel each other's presence. That makes us powerful on the battlefield, but it's a crippling disadvantage if anyone gets captured. Any disadvantage is crippling. These fools insist on learning everything the hard way. It devastates me to admit that I eventually broke. Whatever else they are or claim to be, the Chorus are persuasive. However, I fed them as many lies as I did facts, betting that the Chorus would busy themselves on the search and give the Oathbound time to escape. I heard around camp that Merrick made it out, but I don't know about the others. Merrick wants you dead. Merrick is right to want me dead. I tried to help my unit, but I betrayed them in the process. When this is all over, I'll submit to whatever judgment I'm owed. I wouldn't expect you to preside over my sentencing. That you're talking to me now is more than I deserve. How can I help? To my knowledge, 2 members of my unit are still alive and pinned down in the burning library. I'm in no shape to go after them myself. If you managed it, I'm sure Merrick would appreciate knowing that his troops weren't completely devastated. All I can say is that you'll find them in the library. I can't seem to pinpoint where they are. I only know both of them are injured. Tread lightly, Fatebinder. I fear that this place is far from stable. Let me release you. That is better than I deserve. So be it. I was content to die by the censor's hand. I betrayed my unit and cost them their lives. Sorry. Excuse me. After all. But as you've seen fit to release me, I'll find some discreet cover and lay low until you've retrieved my brethren. Good luck, Fatebinder. Elena refuses to abandon her comrades, even in captivity. However, she will agree to meet her judgment by Merrick personally if you manage to rescue the soldiers she has forsaken. So I figure at this point I might as well get the experience for
I will aid you.
the chorus I'm going to have to deal with anyway.
On it.
You got it.
All right, that was unexpected.
I'll take care of it.
I'm on it.
I am a shield wall unto myself.
You got it. I will have your head!
Will do.
I've learned enough in this that I should still regularly save. Alright, so that's a little different from what I was planning, but...
I will aid you.
Okay, everybody's doing okay for health. I really need to break at least one of these so we can move on to Foul Murmur.
Not a problem, boss.
That's not quite gonna do that much. Alright, I need to find a way of spoiling this guy's day. Damn it, Lantry. Anything I can do to get verse to... I think we'll just get everybody to pile on. Okay, nice.
You got it. Did I always...
So at least in this case, it's Lantry who's suffering a bit for the... Signed Scarlet Chorus report. The edges of this report appear to be burnt. The words faded, though through the barely legible scribbles you can make out the names of various tools of torture and the people on which they were applied. Beside each entry is a span and year. You notice further up the names sound more northern, and the years far precede the conquest of the Tears. The sage has clearly suffered at the hands of his captors. Burn marks cover his legs and shoulders, shoulders slump unnaturally. He looks at you in stunned disbelief. Thank you. I can't believe those blackguards are finally dead. He spits. May they rot. I would say more, but I have to make my escape before the patrol circles back. And you wouldn't want to be caught here either, for that matter. He clasps both of your hands in his. If you are truly committed to taking on the Scarlet Chorus, you should speak with Renata, our leader. She's nothing if not sympathetic to your interests. Seek her out in the ruins of Effigy. She has a camp there with other members of our order. Well, thank you again. I'll take my leave, but tread carefully. The Chorus are crazy and disorganized, but that is part of their strength. Don't let them get the drop on you.
Yes.
Foul Murmur tortured disfavors soldiers before the Civil War. So I didn't really see... I will say that for a couple of these choices, I do see a difference between being like almost cartoonishly evil and, you know, an agent of a... Actually, there's a few films that handle this quite well. So I am trying where I can to portray and work with the Fatebinder as operating within a certain system. They obviously have the ability to change and to influence that system. So they're, you know, they have a particular approach, let's say. And that may not be consistent with what people would think, you know, you play the bad guy with what that looks like. But I guess one of the ways that I've been trying to think about this is there are a number of things that you can find sympathetic to Kairos's conquest. For instance, the idea that there were very clearly defined sort of roles based on someone's sex in the previous society, and the fact that Kairos introduces equality, I think, is kind of a nice little example of how, you know, you're not necessarily working for a mustache twirling villain in this context. Now, I also think, you know, I find it sometimes is kind of tedious. I think this is just because like everybody has to do a video essay now or something like that. And there's inevitably going to be, actually, the bad guy's really a good guy take. And it's always a really boring one for people to make. And I think it removes some of the more interesting angles on these things. So I think it's pretty clear when you have a game where one of your early decisions is to crucify a a prisoner, and that is consistent with the rule of law in that world. Never mind the idea of this empire resting on conquest. It's pretty clear that you are not on the good guy's side. But likewise, you don't necessarily have to be, routinely acting in a spectacularly evil way. And I've always found it a little, oh, okay, let's make a message. I'm just going to write it on this person and kick them from like a tremendous height. Those I always tend to find are a little less interesting. So, in this example here, I'll give you an example of something that I think is consistent with being like an evil character or operating in an evil system, while not necessarily giving rise to the, without necessarily giving rise to the obvious steps in dialogue. This sage, right, who we killed the Scarlet Chorus. This sage had been tortured, says, hey, go seek out Renata. Well, we killed Renata because she attacked us. So does that mean we kill that guy? The game seemed to indicate that I could do that, but what purpose does that serve? Lantry has been a sage who's worked well for me. And in fact, the question you might ask is, what is the point of conquering all of these lands if in the end we're just going to scour them of people, right? There are things, there are things that were wanted. There are things that we want under Kairos's law. And so in this case here, if your approach is basically just going to be to wipe out everyone who, doesn't even necessarily know they've done wrong, then if anything, you are acting counter to the, to their interest. So, if you think of an example like, conquering a people and enslaving them and getting them to build a monument or something like that, that is obviously an evil act. That is, you are taking wealth and time and life from people and putting it towards something that is dedicated towards your own ends. But it certainly seems to be a lot more effective than just exterminating them. They're both evil acts. So, I don't want to try and give, some idea of like one is the nice version, one isn't. But I've always sort of found that it is more consistent to what I imagine Tunon is looking for in the Fate Binders, that you are making these decisions in line with sort of long-term governance and order, rather than, I'm gonna be a jerk because I can be a jerk. I just in general, I don't find those as interesting as a possible choice in the context of the game as well. Okay, this is going to get a little interesting, but I think we can manage.
To battle!
A few more people than I thought there would be.
I will aid you. As you command.
Damn it, Lantry. Alright, fine. Let's run him through and get verse on the Beastman.
Right.
Pity you won't enjoy this.
discouraging in terms of what's happening to Lantry, but we can make this happen.
That one.
Pity you won't enjoy this as much as I do.
Can't do.
Count on it. You got it. Pity you won't enjoy this as much as I do. I'm on it.
The other way, actually, it occurred to me, one of the maybe one of the ideas that's informing that portrayal of the character, like, I don't necessarily think the Fatebinder has to carry water for Kairos at all times, but it would seem to me that it is probably more consistent with the character I have in mind to, let's put another point in here. If you think of the end of 1984 and some of the things that O'Brien talks about, I imagine would be a little more, I don't know, to me a little more consistent with the way I would want to play this kind of character and what they would think would be consistent with what's expected of them. Okay, seize the initiative after attacking a target from stealth. No thank you. While in combat, party members that fight near you gain a bonus to each of their attributes. Yeah, I think boost morale, as much as I'd like to get the extra point towards... There's a side of me that would like to get the extra point towards spells, but... I think making my team more effective is more consistent with what I want to do. This passageway has been blocked by a magical field. It isn't clear how... Oop. This is what happens when masters of warding magics compare notes for centuries. Regular doors and boring locks fall out of fashion. I was hoping the Edict of Fire had done us a favor and burnt away all these barriers, but we're not so lucky. There's a sequence to lower the barriers, but as custom and paranoia dictate, the sages use different sequences every day. And I'm guessing whomever set up this one is long gone, likely dead. We'll need to look for something that might help. The sages used a lot of their power for hiding behind walls. Can't say I'm impressed. Kairos' edict has transformed this floor into a molten lake of fire. Oop. Lantry stops suddenly and looks around, his eyes wide. I almost didn't recognize it. He points southeast down the hall. This is where we made parchment. There used to be dozens of hides stretched out on enormous drying racks. Filthy piles of goat hair. Vats of rendering fat. Quite a busy workshop we had going. And it also happened to smell like diseased pigs defecating on burning goats. That I don't miss. Kairos' edict has transformed this floor into a molten lake of fire. Had the sages more time to prepare, larger swaths of the library would have been saved. As you approach the bodies at the end of the hall, the sage makes a low squeal of fear and falls over, feigning death. Wow, I'm convinced both of these bodies are totally dead. Don't worry, we don't mean you any harm. The sage sighs and looks up at you. I wasn't sure that would work. Well, I was absolutely sure it wouldn't, but how was I supposed to know you weren't another one of those gangs? They're everywhere. I've been hiding in the area ever since the edict tore this place apart. You can never be too careful. He stops, staring intently at you. You're a Fatebinder. He coughs, blood flecking his lips. He wipes them clear with the back of his hand. I can't believe there's a Fatebinder in the Vellum Citadel. You're the one that declared the edict here. You know, it's because you warned us about what was to come that we were able to cast a spell to preserve the Citadel before the edict could destroy it. I don't know if anyone got to thank you for that. Kind of backfired on us, though. It didn't stop the edict. It just froze everything in place as it was being destroyed. Preservation is preservation, I suppose. He shrugs, winces, and coughs up more blood. Not that it's doing us any good with all the Scarlet Chorus in here. Did you see how many of those thugs ran in? When I saw them enter, I knew I couldn't stay in hiding any longer. I had to come in and prevent anyone else from getting in, so I activated the barrier by the door. Fascinating. So you've just sprouted wounds? I came over here to destroy the piece of the passcode so no one can get through. He points to the shelf behind him. This one must have followed me. He attacked me and told me he'd kill me if I didn't tell him how to get through. He laughs and winces again. You can see how well that went for him. Please, Fatebinder, you have to protect the Citadel from the Scarlet Chorus. Don't let them destroy it. That piece of the passcode will let you through the first barrier. Find the rest and keep them from those monsters. They can't be allowed to unlock our secrets. Let me try to bind those wounds. That's okay. I know I'm not long for this world. Please don't worry about a single sage when there's so much more to save. Just keep the Citadel safe, please. He lets out a quiet moan and then falls dead at your feet.
Why would it glow unless it wanted to be seen? I don't trust it.
Glowing book. This book contains a number of distinctive symbols and phrases that are repeated multiple times. They are likely significant. Take the book and translate the phrases. Copy the phrases to keep a record of them. Party has received the incomplete passcode. How fortuitous! Lantry exclaims, looking over your shoulder at the scrap of paper you pull from the shelf. That truly is a part of the passcode needed to bypass the barrier protecting the silent archive. I haven't been this excited since I learned my first sigils. Truth is, in all my decades at the Vellum Citadel, I never once set foot anywhere near the archive. He starts thumbing through the shelf, opening books, flipping through the pages, and shaking them by the spine to loosen any scraps of parchment that might be hidden within. The scrolls here are blank. It looks like they were stored here along with the implements and ingredients to make ink. And though the amount of... Sorry.
Oh, that area below us doesn't look as bad as up here.
Though the amount of heat rushing through this fissure is intense, the lower floor somehow remains
Harken.
intact.
I can see a level below us that isn't as damaged.
It isn't clear why the library hasn't been wholly
Harken.
consumed by lava.
I can see a level below us that isn't as damaged.
Can't do that. Can't do that.
So do they just have a line every time I push this?
Sorry.
Oh, that
I
area
can't.
below us doesn't look as bad as up here.
So I'm gonna guess yes, but... Is that it, really? Huh.
See? Every once in a great while, things are easier than I expect. Though I doubt any other barriers are going to be this easy to bypass. Keep that phrase. This is a good sign. If they had not secured the silent archive, they wouldn't have bothered to leave passcodes for any returning sages.
How exactly do you think you're going to get away? An exasperated voice asked. The sensor is right outside the door, and there is no other way out of this fucking oven. Now get your worthless asses moving before I tell the sensor myself. And if I get the shackles too, it'll be worth it just to see every one of you twist on the spit. Hey, you, come here. I want to talk to you. haggard man stands in the middle of a group, addressing them through clenched teeth. They are lounging in the room, almost completely ignoring him. If you can't get in line, I swear I'll leave you to burn in this forge. You want that? Just listen to me, and we can all get out of here with our eyebrows intact. They're glowing parchment fragments. How hard could they be to find? He notes your approach and calls out, shooting the rest of the group an admonishing look. Fatebinder, what are you doing here? He looks back at his gang. I thought you fools blocked the passageway. One of his men snorts and shrugs and then goes back to ignoring him. Do all my ears deceive, or did you just question my actions? The man recoils, and a look of terror crosses his eyes. No, I only meant it was odd to meet you here. He glances at his men, who are restraining their laughter at his expense. Forgive me, Fatebinder. He attempts an awkward bow, eliciting more laughs from his group. I figured the censor sent you to check up on us. Don't worry, we'll be the first group to get through that barrier and find the silent archive. Do you need anything else? What exactly are you doing here? He looks at his men, who stare back blankly. I assumed you knew. Why else would the censor have let you in? He shrugs absent-mindedly, scratching his armpit. She's put us in here to compete. We're supposed to find the silent archive, and it isn't just like the chorus to have a contest that gets a score of decent soldiers killed, which is why we're bent on finding the archive first. He glares at his crew. Rather, we were bent on finding it. This lot is as squeamish as babes who don't want to singe their hair on their toes. Haven't found even a single piece of the passcode. We blocked the passage so no one could follow us, and then they sat down and refused to move. What's so special about the archive? It's the heart of Vellum Citadel. They say the most valuable records are stored there. Books that only the senior sages knew about before the Cataclysm. Voices of Nerat wants it destroyed so that Kairos' wrath against the sages is complete. The archive is said to have some magical properties, too. Ulston frowns. Supposedly, the archive is the sole reason the library is still standing. I don't know, we're just looking for it. I don't know, I'm happy to address the sages. I helped you once and warned you about Kairos' edict. Help me destroy these fools, and you may yet live still. Damn it, Fatebinder, what are you doing? Ulston says as he draws his weapon. The sages, bolstered by your words, attack Ulston and his group.
I'm not... I'm on it. You got it.
Consider it done. Kids, you might learn something.
I don't know if that was just blank paper or... Should probably take a second and see how... Signed Scarlet Chorus report. The edges of the report appear to be burnt. Yeah, so this is... Okay, nothing too special there. Find more parchment pieces. You found a fragment of parchment that looks important. Find more and piece them together. Yeah, let's take a second here to see if there's any improvements armor-wise. So for the Fatebinder, we're still doing light armor. I imagine there's not much boots-wise. There we go. Let's try that again. So if it wasn't for Opportunist, I would definitely switch those out. These gloves aren't quite what I need. And I imagine we don't have much in terms of two-handed weapons. That will change. So changes to recovery don't quite work there. So I'm imagining this is the symbol that I need.
Interesting.
Damn it.
I'll take care of it.
I can kind of see what went wrong there, but like obviously my intention was to interact with that thinking that it was one of the scrolls that I needed, and instead I trigger a trap. Like, it's one of these things, right, where it's a trap. You've recognized it as something that you want to interact with, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know how you can... I don't really know how you can handle that in a game. Gaptooth, there's someone out here. The Psy carries all the way out to you. Tell them to get their asses in here. Get your asses in there. Gaptooth wants to talk to you. Broken wall. The remnants of the library wall is balanced precariously here, held in place by rubble along the ground. Push the wall.
Curious.
The wall has collapsed here, creating a new entry point into the adjacent room. Climb over the rubble and reach the other side. The sage backs up as you approach, fear in his eyes. No, please, don't hurt me! He stops when he sees you and drops to his hands, relieved. You're not chorus members. He looks around. But they're nearby. I can hear them. I would leave, but they've blockaded the exit, and I can't open the barrier without the right key. You're free to go. The way is clear. I can never thank you enough for what you've done for me. Take this. Maybe it'll help you. I was unable to finish my research, but maybe you can. He looks around warily. I'll find a way out from here.
Sorry, I can't. Sorry, I can't.
Sorry, just a minute. Just got a response to the horrifying images. Jesus, no, is the the answer.
Curious.
Oh. Waves of heat hit you as you lean over. Well. Waves of heat hit you as you lean over to look upon a lake of lava far below. Obviously, we'll head back to Gaptooth when we're good and ready. Okay, scroll, interpret the symbols. Study the symbols to expand your spellcasting capability. Cool. A rough-looking woman stands in the gap made by a broken wall, turning to address you as you approach it. So the censor didn't trust 4 groups to get what she wanted and sent another one? She shakes her head. More groups. Talk about an excessive use of force. She throws her hand in the air. For Cairo's sake, it's still just a library. It's not going to get up and walk away. We have time to get to the archive. I even know where a piece of the passcode is. Tell me more about this archive. What do you take me for? Your own personal sage? She holds up a hand and starts counting off facts like a checklist. It's in the library. It's rumored to be incredibly powerful. It's behind an impenetrable barrier. We need to find the passcode to get it. The censor is particularly itchy to get her hands on it. Problem is, she sent all of us in to get it, and only one group is allowed to claim they did. And that means a lot of... She puts her hands to her throat and mines strangling, making a gagging noise. Such is the way of the chorus. My current problem is Numbly's group down below. They're guarding one of the passcode pieces, and they can be particularly stab-happy. I don't want to cross their path with a molten pit nearby, so I'm trying to decide what to do. For groups, what do you mean? You know, groups to compete in the censor's little game, to the death and all that. She squints at you. Do you really not know, or are you just playing stupid? Either way, I'm not in the mood for babysitting idiots. I warned you about Kairos' edict so you could escape before being destroyed. Help me kill this gang and you'll escape again. As the sages look with determination to each other and back to you, Gaptooth's eyes fill with fury and rage. You worthless ink suckers will burn along with the Fatebinder. Kill them all. I was definitely not expecting this kind of pile on, so it's gonna get a little awkward for a bit.
I will aid you.
Oh, crap. Well, nobody dropped, so...
Can't do that.
Burnt missive. The contents of this missive are obscured by the page's burnt edges, but you can tell that Graven Ash was the intended recipient. The sender makes a plea for assistance, as she doesn't believe her garrison in the Blade Grave has sufficient troops to hold their location. I'm surprised that doesn't count as evidence in the
The
judgment.
sages halted the passage of time in these old ruins. If the building was meant to collapse, I say let it.
Okay, so it seems to indicate that... Oh, there we go. Don't think that's gonna make the difference, but... Yeah, I mean... It's not a bad weapon, but it doesn't have the armor penetration, so... Sorry, just let me clear out the riffraff. A large man stands with his back to you, gesticulating wildly at the beastmen around him. He points north up the stairs at a wall of shelves on the rise. Go get it, you mangy freak. I'm not gonna hurt you. That's a piece of the passcode, I just know it. The beastman he's currently yelling at vehemently shakes his head. No! Shiny, crackly light, hurt beast. Will not touch. No! That was a spell cast by the by that sage. He points at the body near the stage, who is now dead, by the way. So there isn't going to be any more shiny, crackly light to hurt you. Just go get it. The rest of us need to stay here and keep anyone else from getting it. Go! The beastman shakes his head again. The man makes a noise of disgust. You're worthless, all of you. How did I get stuck with the monster brigade? River of lava flows freely around an island made of a huge cracked piece of the floor. The destruction seems more widespread down here. The man turns to you, his ill-fitting armor straining against his chest. What are you doing here? His face takes on a sour look as he shakes his head. Never mind, I don't really care. We're not going to let you pass, no matter your reasons. This contest is in the bag. If anyone is going to get to the Silent Archive first, it will be me. And if you think I'm letting you anywhere near that piece of the passcode, think again. Someone already tried to take it from me and failed. There's a conspicuous cough from behind the man, who rolls his eyes and looks over his shoulder. Us. I'm the Fatebinder of Tunon, and I suggest you move. I have business here. Titles mean nothing to me, and they mean even less down here. Does your title protect you in a library wreathed in unending flame? Doubtful. Actions have more meaning than words ever will. Tell me about this contest. His eyes narrow and his mouth turns up in a sneer. If you've made it this far without knowing what you're doing, I don't think I'm going to give you any more incentive. Now turn back, or turn to worm food. What do you know about the Silent Archive? Enough to help me win, and just enough to keep my mouth shut. You want someone to give you a history class? Go somewhere else. Just make sure it's back in that direction. He points up at the rope. Your words bore me. Goodbye. I'm warning you, not another step.
At once.
On it. Found
Don't say you weren't warned.
something.
Okay, so I don't know quite what's hit Lantry. I'm a little worried about that. Ah.
I'm not entirely useless.
So we can get a little help here.
I'm on it.
So obviously I need to get Lantry into safety. Okay, that's not ideal. Again, I'm not really focused on the right things.
You got it.
Okay, I think I'm gonna need to use the special ability in a little bit. I wish I could do something about that restoring touch, but let's save that. Okay, good news.
Let's have it then.
As you...
Lantry's getting too much damage.
And you take much more of this.
That was obviously a heavy hit on the Fate Binder, but we can make this work.
I got
This guy on the head. Okay. Yikes! Okay, that complicates
I'll take
things more than a little.
You got it.
As you command. As you command.
Yee. Okay, so
As you command.
Lantry. I would love to disengage here, but this will have consequences. So, all right, Lantry just got caught. I think I'm gonna have to eat the free attack, otherwise. All right, face him like a man.
No. Sorry. I feel...
Well, an attempt was made.
Bang.
I'll tear your scalp.
Research Magic Sigil. These writings describe the process for creating a magical accent. You should be able to decipher the instructions with access to a Spire library upgrade and the proper materials.
Sorry, I can't.
Sure, why not? Ooh. Bane. Okay, so we're gonna probably want to position people properly for this.
I... am
Now
a
that's-
shield wall
Ah, crap.
unto myself. That one rattled me hard.
You got it.
Right.
Smashed to pieces.
Right.
River lava flows freely around an island made of a huge cracked piece of the floor. The destruction seems more widespread down here. I do like this idea as a location. I actually wasn't expecting after the conquest sequence to sort of see this location. Oh, for heaven's sake. I think that one, the intent to clear the damage was pretty obvious.
Consider it done.
For God's sake. Looks like... Oh no, okay, I was gonna say, it looks like the disfavor didn't make it, but I'm just not paying attention. Okay. Now seems like a good time to do this.
Good work.
You got it.
Right.
As you command.
It's always nice to deliver the coup de grace like
This
that.
old man is worn out. I need rest.
You have my thanks, Fatebinder. I thought I would surely die in this furnace. So Lantry did give something that seemed to indicate he needed a rest. This could just be the wounded status. Anyways, let's level up verse. So dual wield. Yeah, we'll put more towards that. And then she was in duelist. We'll try combat mastery first. So yeah, if there's no debuffs, I'm going to keep pressing ahead. But what I might do, because we're about 2 hours in, no matter what the timer might say, now may not be a bad time for me to get that coffee that I wanted. So looks like there's a little more combat waiting for us down below here, just based on the map icons. Doesn't say what it is. But I'm happy we got at least one of the disfavored. I'm definitely interested in this location. I mean, I think it's pretty obvious that I'm gonna like any library area, but I am intrigued. This was definitely a part of the setting that I'm happy I got to see in its own way. But I'll try not to make it too long. But I do know, because I'm making the coffee sort of from scratch. Well, okay, I'm not like picking beans and roasting them, but I need to boil the water and such. That does tend to be a little bit of a longer break. So likewise, I will recommend all of you get up, have a stretch, take care of yourselves. I will try not to be too late, but I also know that it's a little bit of a wait, just based on past experience. So, but we will be back for more Tyranny once I have hot coffee in my hand. I will see you all soon. All right. Thank you very much for your patience. Let me just get rid of the break sign. I've about 5 minutes before the coffee's done doing its thing, but no reason to hold up the game. Okay, so yeah, Lantry could be in better shape, but I think we've got enough to run ahead. Let's buff everyone again.
I will aid you. Right.
Oh, piece of cake.
Apologies, but I can't do that.
Can't do that.
Something tells me you can. Well, I suddenly got a sense of urgency.
Will do.
Not a problem. Problem, boss. Fall before.
Filthy hands.
I think my wisdom is fine.
Maybe you won't enjoy this as much as I do.
All right, that went rather well, I think. It's really helpful to have the extra range on Lantry's heal, I've noticed. Just so he doesn't keep running into dangerous situations. And looks like we've got another symbol. Glowing book. This book contains a number of distinctive symbols and phrases that are repeated multiple times. They are likely significant. Copy the phrases to keep a record of them. I'm kind of curious what happens if you don't have a Lantry with you. I don't know if there's a... I mean, there has to be an option to just not take him. Okay, so we're not quite ready to head up the stairs like this. I think this will take us to another part of the library we haven't seen yet, but I haven't checked the upper area. And I am slightly curious how we get here. We just walk. As you approach the edge of the roiling lake of lava, you see a head break the surface. The man lets out a piercing scream and sinks below again. Moments later, he pops up, a little further this time, and floats on the lava, eyes glazed. His shirt is torn, and you see elaborate tattoos on his chest as he sinks yet again. Oh, that can't be. Lantry's eyes widen and his jaw drops. Comfortable. I can't even believe it works. Though his eyes remain fixed on the man in the lava, Lantry's hands instinctively begin to sketch the scene on parchment. That sigil on his chest. It's actually working. Do you know this fellow? One of the newer scribes. I'm not sure I rightly know. Perhaps it's for the best. Hard enough to see him in that state. Can't imagine I someone I care about in that sort of misery. Oop, coffee's done. Yes, as I watch the man douse himself in flaming liquid, fresh coffee. My hunch tells me he was trained enough to recognize that sigil, but foolish enough to overestimate its utility. Such a waste. With a smile, Lantry clears his throat, trying to sound upbeat. But he made his contribution to arcane lore. He field-tested the sigil. We know it mostly works. What exactly is happening here? It would appear this man has a ward against fire tattooed into his chest. Lantry points his quill at the sigil inked on the man's chest. Moreover, it would appear to be working, maybe more or less than the owner may have hoped, but he's waiting in lava and not already dead 1,000 times over. It's kept him alive, but hasn't saved him from serious injury. If we pull him out, we could. A cringe spreads across Lantry's face. Take the tattoo carving. Carving it off seems the safest bet. For us, not him, obviously. We could put the sigil to use, and it might be the merciful thing. Help him out of the lava. You wait until he floats back to the surface of the lava. He screams and his arm swings up, allowing you to grab it and pull him to you. You drag him onto the rock and turn him over, allowing the molten rock to drain from his lungs. He sits up and looks at you briefly, then his eyes cast about wildly. What? Where? He leans forward and coughs a little. I can still smell it. Most of my hair burned off days ago, but the stench still clings to my nostrils. Can't believe you found me. I was about to stop struggling in hopes that the ward wouldn't prevent me drowning. Sage Gaffney, I didn't recognize you covered in molten rock. You should have been part of the first evacuation group. Selwyn must be worried sick. Master Selwyn is dead, so his sickness didn't even be an issue. But you don't need to lecture me twice, Master Lantry. I want to be as far from this sweltering death trap as possible. Where did you learn that magic? Learn? This was drawn on me by my master's hand, an experiment in preservation magic, a year or so before this whole Edict of Fire nonsense began. It's for your own good, he shouted at the time. Hate it when he's right. Hate it even more when he hurled candles at me to test his magic. It's best not to ask too many questions. Just get out of here before anything else happens. I suppose thanks are in order. I hope I can make my way out of here. Floor plans change, to say the least, and you'll need to keep an eye out for any chorus goons lurking in the area. Run along now, don't look back. There's no home left for you to save. The sage looks around, getting his bearings, then slowly makes his way up the ramp and out of your sight. Okay.
I got it.
Right. So gotta figure out what the story is over there.
Sorry, I can't.
The last area I can check out
Sorry, I can't.
here will be this. I probably should have checked this out first, to be honest. Beyond the gaping hole in the floor, hundreds of scrolls fill the shelves on the far wall.
What do we have here?
The plaque is so smudged and scratched that you can't read most of it, but it mentions a new binding technique and mastering the magic to preserve the scrolls. Mind static torque. It's probably a good one for Ebb to have, to be honest. The First Kings of Stalwart. This document chronicles the early days of the Regent bloodline in Stalwart. Hidden among the lists of names and titles, you find the story of Queen Portia, who stripped her infant child of any legal claim to the throne to stave off an assassination attempt. The event set a legal precedent that has lasted for centuries. You think someone might find that of interest. Now, that's got to be... Like, I don't think there's any way that you can do that in a different order, but that's got to be relevant to the previous encounter with Ash's daughter. A glowing book. This book contains a number of distinctive symbols and phrases that are repeated multiple times. They are likely significant. Copy the phrases to keep a record of them. You found 3 parchment pieces. It looks like one more will complete the page. Find it. One thing, if there'd been a little bit more chat, I was curious to hear some thoughts on the EA announcement. So this obviously isn't an EA game, but this, if anything, is relevant to Microsoft, who now owns Obsidian. But for those of you not familiar, Silver Lake Partners, I believe in conjunction with a couple of other firms, including the Saudi Sovereign Wealth Fund, have put in an offer to take Electronic Arts private. Now, I definitely heard some rumors. At one point, there was a rumor that Disney might be wanting to buy EA. I never really felt too comfortable with that because Disney's sort of whole deal had been to sort of divest itself of its game production facilities, or not facilities, but like its game production capabilities, and basically just license the IP, of which EA was obviously a big part because of all of its Star Wars games. And of course, EA has since moved on from that. They've been talking about wanting to develop their own IP and such. Yeah, in the case of so I mean, I guess it depends on when you're talking about that as to whether or not that was credible. But apparently there'd been some sort of a rumor that Apple was considering EA as well. And I don't necessarily... I guess the question is what kind of weight do you assign to them developing out their services business, i.e. like how much better do you think they want to make Apple Arcade? And that didn't necessarily seem like a natural fit, but it wasn't completely crazy either. But the big question really came down to was just, who is the buyer? Who is, if Microsoft goes for it, I think there'd be genuine antitrust problems. Ubisoft would not be in any position to try and do an acquisition. The usual suspects like Tencent, I suppose, but I don't really see that working out. More importantly, it's not clear that they would necessarily want them. And if anything, I think Tencent's probably got its eyes set on certain parts of Ubisoft for their own. But I mean, this is, I guess, the thing about private equity right now is they just keep getting bigger and bigger. And so at this point, I guess that was the, that was the way to go. Now, I mean, there is always the question, does it have to go private? It did feel that EA was struggling to keep up with expectations. It had actually been going very well. As a player, I was feeling a little disappointed. I did finally cancel my EA Play subscription, the Play Pro subscription, just because they kept getting rid of the good third-party games. And the, I don't want to be unkind, but the thing is that the exclusive stuff that you got through Pro really wasn't cutting it, much the same way that I don't have the Ubisoft one, right? So like once upon a time when there'd be like a good Battlefield game and some interesting EA originals and maybe something like Jedi Fallen Order or that was I'd say that was a pretty good deal. But when it's Veilguard and oh god, it's Immortals of Avium, And like Zhao wasn't necessarily. I mean, it seemed to be reviewed reasonably well. It wasn't maybe something that I was personally super interested in, but it was one I was definitely going to give a try. But it's not the sort of thing I'm going to get like a premium subscription service for, right? So if that one title is the reason for it. In fact, one of the big ones for me was The Sinking City, and then they got rid of that seemingly without telling anybody. So yeah, I mean, now again, the reason, one of the most reliable sources of income for EA would be the sports franchises, and the one thing I will say is that I at least like that they are still trying to do original stuff, right? They are still doing the originals. They still are working with Hazelight. They're still, you know, taking a risk on something like Immortals of Avium. But in the end, you really do actually need some of those bets to pay off. So I don't know if they were just feeling a certain pressure of being in the public markets and having to keep the share price at a certain level, or quite what the deal was. Or maybe the private equity firm just felt it was undervalued relative to its asset. I mean, I don't have a super negative view of private equity, but I'm not a huge fan. I think it's a case by case thing. And I don't know, like I hope they keep the company. Like, there's clearly stuff that needs to be fixed. Like, BioWare doesn't really feel like it is operating as well as it could have, or historically has. And, not to be too stereotypical, but the usual thing with private equity is, you go in, you fire a bunch of the middle managers, you load the company up with a bunch of debt, and you either find another buyer or you spin it out to public markets again. And I'm not entirely convinced that's what EA needs. I can definitely see spending some time out of public markets to reorient itself, find out sort of what the future of gaming looks like, and orient around that, and not have to determine releases around quarterly earnings reports, but rather take that long-term view, do those long-term investments, and basically come back and like effectively be the kind of company that says, yes, it's going to cost money, we're gonna miss a quarterly target because this thing took longer to make, but we're going to be the company that makes you very excited for these releases to come out, right? And where, these releases are going to mean something again, and you're going to love the series, the franchises, the studios again, and not thinking about a quarterly earnings call, not trying to hit that EPS target is going to be the way that we do that. To me, that's a positive way of doing it. That to a certain extent is taking advantage of the different corporate structure while largely keeping the things that made the company good intact. But I mean, then there's another version of this which says, we've just spent a whole lot of money on this thing. I mean, the premium seems to be quite high. It's let's see what it was trading at before. Sorry, I'm kind of ranting on this with nobody asked, but I'm kind of curious. So EA is at 202.05 now, so that's also kind of interesting in its own way, right? Because I believe the share price is 210 cash offer. So this means that there's a little less than $8 a share, effectively, of uncertainty on that. Basically, I'm kind of curious on what that works out in terms of percent. Yeah, so 3.7%. 3.8 if you want to round up uncertainty in terms of it closing. But compared to the old share price of 170.96, so I mean at 210, there it's almost $50 a share more than you could have bought it before, and on a 5-year horizon, I mean it was 163. So again, it's definitely not change. I don't know though, like it's just when I looked at like price and earnings and things like that, it always felt like quite an expensive stock. Like it's a company that I actually quite like, and I feel it has not been performing as well as it could. But I always felt that the hate for EA was unjustified. But yeah, like the thing is that, you know, they paid up for it. And so the other worry about this, right, is that they look at The Sims, they look at EA Football Club, they look at all of these different properties and they say, like, you know, you think this is a good moneymaker now? We are going to just turn the dial up to 11. We're really going to put the squeeze on the, you know, on the
Right.
the incremental purchases. And then of course, you know, you potentially have, you know, all of like you see EA becoming the company that everybody complains about, which I think is usually what the worry is. But the thing for me, right, is that if you feel that companies are like maximally greedy already, right, that becoming a public company means that they're going to like exploit the players or force DLC on you, or that the fact that they've become privately owned doesn't change. Like, you know, it's not like private equity is somehow more greedy than a public company, right? The owners want a return. It's, you know, it'd be nice to imagine that it's a bunch of mom and pops who are buying, you know, single shares of all of our beloved gaming companies, but that's just not how capital markets work. I mean, they're kind of doing that through buying, you know, a mutual fund or an ETF. So like a Vanguard, like if you have Vanguard, that's basically kind of what you're doing, right? You're getting everybody else to sort of chip in and buy some EA, but that isn't the sort of thinking that's resulting in the God, why can't I words? Come on. In those kinds of purchases. Although I think private equity definitely wants people's retirement money. There appears to be some kind of ramp underneath the lava. There is no way to use it without immediately bursting into flame.
Sorry, I can't. Have a look.
Unraveler's Cane. Sigil of Atrophy and Annihilation.
Here.
I think Ebb might want one of those. So here's some new blood to come feed the furnace. Doubt you'll last long. The man spreads a jagged-toothed grin as he runs his tongue along the front of his teeth. He stares at you while he does. You've made it pretty far. How have you fared? I have high hopes for making it out with all my pieces intact. If the censor wanted this to be challenging, she should have sent people with more drive. He shrugs. With the help of my mates and a few sages, we'll toast the competition into fine ash and powder our faces with their defeat. And if we find the silent archive in the process, that'll be good too. What do you know about the silent archive? Nothing. He stares at you for a couple seconds before continuing. In my estimation, it can't do anything for you. It's not worth your time. Tell me about the contest. Honestly, the only important part of this contest is that only one group is going to make it out alive, and I get to have fun dismantling every other group. He smiles, an insane glee in his eyes. This is the perfect spot to lie in wait. There's a piece of the passcode down the hall. If someone takes it, they have to walk right by us to leave. There's even a sage down there with a wounded disfavored. I'm letting them stew. Fear and blood taste much better when they're allowed to marinate. He opens his mouth and licks his lips. Do any of you want to find... do any of you want this man to find the silent archive? Because I don't. I think a sage can get the drop on me, do you? He studies you without even an expression. Won't happen. How can you be so sure? That's how. He turns his eyes to the second sage, who immediately drops his gaze. Would you feel inclined to misbehave if you knew you'd be put down the moment you started acting rabid? He looks at you again. Our sages know their place. You help, you obey, or you die. Short-sighted fool. This is how you act tough? You discard decades of learned study? Even the voices of Narat would be offended by this needless waste of such a valuable slave. You really need to die. Cutting right to the chase without any of the foreplay. Man after my own heart.
Another battle. Friends.
You got it.
Take it harder than that.
As you command.
You got it.
Land where you. Up these shit. Focus.
Whoa! What's going on there?
Bleed out, you little shit!
Sorry, Lantry. The scroll is decorated with magic symbols and can impart arcane knowledge if properly studied. Study the symbols to expand your spellcasting ability. Wall has collapsed here, creating a new entry point to the adjacent room. Sure. Never ends, does it? The injured Oathbound soldier laughs ruefully, causing her to cough. Flecks of blood spew from her mouth and hit the cheek of the sage currently binding her wounds. Sorry. You're fine. Little blood comes with the territory. But you need to keep quiet or I won't be able to get this done right. I don't want you bleeding out. Thank you. I appreciate your help, even with all the troubles we've caused you. The sages aren't nearly as bad as I was led to believe. She smiles and winces. She stares at you, all signs of levity gone from her expression. What are you planning on doing? We're both trapped here with those chorus members right on the other side of that rubble. I'm certainly in no shape to fight. It would seem we're in quite a bind. Come on behalf of Merrick. It's time to go. The soldier manages a trembling salute, wincing in pain as she does. Glad to hear it, sir, but as you can see, I've picked up some company. She gives the sage a worried glance. This man has aided me and stands to gain nothing from it. I vouch for him all my life. He won't get in our way. You're right. Another dead sage won't turn the tide of battle. Both of them visibly relax. The soldier slumps back against the shelves, and the sage returns to his work binding her wounds. Thank you. Finding mercy from anyone in here is the last thing I expected. We aren't going anywhere right now, but as soon as I'm ready, I can get us out. The problem is the group over there. They're already gone. The way is safe. The Oathbound smiles. Thank you. As soon as I'm up to it, I'll get out of here. Wait. She looks at you, recognition showing on her face. I remember you. You're the fate binder that saved my life. All our lives by sending the Scarlet Chorus to rescue us. It was assumed that the sages of the Vellum Citadel would surrender in good order to the Overlord's forces in the year 430, so the small force sent to accept their surrender was caught unawares when the scholars violently defended their library fortress with an arcane assault. The death of the disfavored leader made you the most senior commander, and you saved the day not with brave heroics, but with calm resolve. Ordering the numerous unskilled Scarlet Chorus to cover the disfavored withdrawal, your command kept the elite soldiers alive at the expense of hundreds of conscripts, some entirely untrained and unarmed. While the disfavored naturally assume that you made the proper decision, those in the chorus believe the disfavored should have covered the retreat. They are the ones dressed in iron and mystically shielded by their Archon, so the work of the human shield variety ought to be Legion work. While we escaped, we had to fight some sages to get out. As far as I know, their bodies are still there. If you find them, I'm sure there's still some magic items or scrolls on them. This book contains a number of distinctive symbols and phrases that are likely repeated, multiple times. They are likely significant. That looks like the final piece. I can't fucking believe it. I'm gonna see the Silent Archive. Oh, keep it together, Lantry. You're going to give yourself a heart spasm. With an embarrassed smile, Lantry takes a swig from the vial of ink off his bandolier. The symbols on the page swim before your eyes, fading and reappearing as you watch. As you stare at them, they slowly resolve themselves into a series of sentences. First and foremost, for those that have the strength of will, the door to the north shall open. Secondly comes passion, burning in the south like an unending fire, to prove vitality to the dedicated. Then from the west shall the one with true resolve come to explain the gravity of commitment to knowledge. Lastly, look to the east and brace yourself against those who would pull you down. Let your might be solid as stone. Use the parchment pieces to reach the Silent Archive. You found enough parchment pieces just to decipher a magical phrase. Once you have done so, use it to gain entry to the Silent Archive. And you found the Oathbound and dealt with Yelena. Return to Merrick with the news. So before we go any further, I obviously want to plunder the area. I believe there should be at least one more path. Actually, I think we just found it. It could also be Jelena. I don't know quite what the pronunciation is for this place. I'm also a little weirded out by the fact that there's still...
This is where we'd socialize. And by that, I mean we'd drink till we forgot geometry.
Yeah, this is the spot we were at before. Okay, more Bane.
Powerful warding magic keeps this place intact. Who knows how long it will hold?
I'm obviously very tempted to just try and see if these things trigger the trap, but probably not worth messing with this. And Lantry's really looking worse for wear.
I'll take care.
Of course.
Another.
I will aid you.
I look back.
You got it.
Business hands.
You got it. I'm on it.
On it. Don't know my own strength.
Take care.
Obviously not who I wanted
Do.
to heal. Well, obviously, I'm sorry, I should clarify. I wanted to heal Verse at the time, but as soon as he was done his little routine. Actually, what this does let me do, though, I finally get to see. No, I don't.
I did that? Nice! Oh, I'm an exhausted mess. Can we pause for a few hours of medicated bliss?
What have we here?
I will confess, I am actually somewhat inclined to rest. This missive is a reply intended for Sage Renata. It urges her to make an important decision about the future of their guild. Evidently, the sages were often used as mediators between armies, oftentimes because Graven Ash simply refused to work with the voices of Narat due to the troubled past between the two. I'm curious if this... Oop, not quite what I intended. Read the poem again. It might help us with the barrier.
I got it.
No. This scroll is decorated with magic symbols and can impart arcane knowledge if properly studied. This room is mysteriously untouched by the destruction that ripped the rest of the library apart. The scrolls look completely undisturbed on the intact shelving. Alright. Camping will use up one of your camping supplies. Do you wish to camp here? Yes. Mostly because I can't afford a half-health Lantry, and I imagine we are more likely to be facing a big fight soon. Alright. So there was a complete password somewhere here? Excuse me. The passphrase needed to remove the barrier to the Silent Archive is recorded on this scroll. The runes glow with arcane light and shift across the parchment from top to bottom. First and foremost, those that have the strength of will, the door to the north shall open. Secondly comes passion, burning the south like an unending fire to provide vitality to the dedicated. Then from the west shall one with true resolve come to explain the gravity of commitment to knowledge. And lastly, look to the east and brace yourself against those who would pull you down. Let your might be as solid as stone. So basically just make a cross shape. Big brain game moves. Shield plans. The scroll is decorated with magic symbols and can impart arcane knowledge if properly studied. Study the symbols and expand your spellcasting ability. Wonderful for all these
Can't do that.
symbols that I'm almost certainly not going to use. Not quite ready to leave the map here. The sound of that. Hello? That is a nice reveal. While I assumed it would be you who would emerge as the victor in this game, I must say I'm a little disappointed you were able to dispatch all of my men so readily. Fear of death is a great motivator, but causing death seems to motivate you a little more. I guess I'll have to show a more discerning eye in my recruiting. Your string of successes ends here. Your body will join with those of the sages on the altar. It's rather amusing if you think about it. They may have stopped the building from collapsing, but they couldn't stop the edict or the Scarlet Chorus. All they did was sacrifice themselves for a scrap of parchment that they're going to lose anyway. Interesting, because I find your confidence amusing. I just eliminated your entire crew. Almost as amusing as yours, Fatebinder. Those fools were mere peons. You'll find I will not fall as readily as my underlings. One does not lead the Scarlet Chorus for long if one does not know how to watch for danger. And while I thank you for your help in opening up the passage and finding the Silent Archive, you are of no longer any use to me. It's time to end this. Okay, I want to be a bit thoughtful in terms of how I approach this one. So, Edict of Fire. So as much as I can. I wish I knew what this attack did. It seemed to me here. So we've got Bloodhounds, Scarlet Furies. Yeah, so Lantry tries to disable the spellcaster. Barrack goes after the... I mean, honestly, it's kind of one-on-one for each of the groups. I'm gonna move... Oh, come on! What the hell is this? That is supremely annoying.
Will do.
Fall before me!
I think at this point it's safe to say any pathfinding decision by the game is automatically wrong and should be overridden.
At once.
Yikes. I don't know what that was, but makes me sad.
No, sorry. As you command. Consider it done.
Good God, what's happening with the Fatebinder now?
If I had kids, they'd
I'll
be
hit
feeling that
twice
one.
hard next time!
You do your job?
I'll tear your skeleton out by your ass!
Sorry.
I will aid you.
No, wait. It's blood.
You'll have to hit
You gotta
harder
get
than that!
nice.
If I miss!
I need to try a different.
You got it.
Pay attention, kids. Keep that.
How is Lantry still wounded? Didn't we sleep just to... Obsidian fragment. The stone here is flecked with small bits of obsidian. One larger piece just juts out from the wall and looks like it could be removed. Remove the obsidian fragment from the wall.
Slow down. Let's take a closer look.
I could bend that apart.
Can't do that.
Okay, so it looks like we got a couple of things to play around with. Now that you've located the Silent Archive, find a way to destroy the burning library and complete the task Graven Ash gave you. Graven Ash okay, no, that's fine. Oh, it's the Staff of Hours that...
I'll just hold on to this.
This glowing staff bears the mark of the sages and was wielded by the hierarch of the Vellum Citadel before the Edict of Fire destroyed the ancient library fortress. The staff has passed down unknowable numbers of hands over the centuries, and tradition dictated that every owner imbue it with an expression of their magical aptitude. Runes encircle the length of the staff, each in a different style, some describing the names of dead archons, and others fragments of inscrutable poetry, all intended to unlock some hidden potential. The staff's current aspect is that of its previous owner, Hierarch Jespers, who was an accomplished illusionist and trickster. The staff has served several different purposes through its long career. It was often employed to preserve old documents or repair sections of the citadel. Dark stains around the haft tell of a time when it was dipped into vats of ink, and a doomed effort to replicate the magic behind the bottomless cistern of ink known as the Everwell. How you doing, Vanguard Master? Lantry gets some cool new clothes. Doing well, digging mines and making holes in the ground. And games on the side.
Can't do that.
Oh, holes are in the game ground. Gotcha. The altar sits in the middle of a lake of lava encircled by ritual braziers. The bodies of the sages who gave their lives to stop the library's collapse are littered around the central pedestal. First Sage Arwell's directives. Sage Torvin. Kairos' armies have been rebuffed for now, but it is only a temporary victory. I have no doubt that we may hold these walls a good deal longer, but you must remember that the Overlord aims not to butcher the Citadel's keepers, but to destroy its secrets. Kairos is not omnipotent. Her powers may be known and understood in time, and she rightly fears the knowledge we hoard here. The silent archive must be protected. There is no library in the tiers that is its equal. Nothing else matters. Nothing. We may not know the Overlord's plans, but with time and research we can circumvent any of her designs. I need you to ensure that we will have that time when the moment is right. Focus your efforts on Sage Stea's theoretical forays into temporal magic. While we were right to deny such dangerous experimentation before, now is the time in which its risks are justified. Gather the Elder Sages and make your way to the lower chambers. You are to remain there until you devise a solution to Stea's problem of scale. Halting the flow of time in a single chamber won't be sufficient if Kairos drowns us all in a storm or hurtles this library into the firmament. You must find a way to encase all of the Citadel in such a spell, should disaster come. Your success isn't optional. This library will be a distant memory if Kairos has her way. Should we both survive, I will be happy to congratulate you on your breakthrough. Until then, get to work. For Sage Arwell. Sage Torvin's nodes. Sage Latotes. We can't help you with the ringing in your ears just yet, so we'll have to make do until the conflict is over. Yes, Arwell was very explicit in his directives. I know they seem impossible, but that isn't the situation we face. Everyone that could interpret the Silent Archive died in last night's attack, so we're not getting any assistance in this matter. Thankfully, I do have an idea, one which requires everyone's participation. Scale is the issue. Stea's last experiments only affected as much as a small chamber. I believe that we can amplify the spell's effect by repeating the motions of its sigils as a group, similar to the ritual magic used in primitive cultures that predated modern tiersmen. Sage Dangling Participle believes that this will create an exponential growth in the spell's effects, but at an expected cost of stability. I am inclined to agree. Also, we have no other ideas. No one else here has your expertise in magical foci. You've told me countless times how minor baubles can have a profound leveling effect on spells that exceed the control of their casters. What if we use something as powerful as an artifact as the focus of the ritual? Without one, the energies involved will quickly become chaotic and almost assuredly deadly for all of us. At least with an artifact, there's a chance that Stea's spell will encompass the entire citadel and put it into a state of stasis. In my opinion, there's only one artifact to use, and that's the Silent Archive itself. It's clearly the most potent object in this room. Sage Dangling Participle believes that the Staff of Hours will suffice, but I'm not going to leave anything to chance. Better that we use the Silent Archive as our focus now and figure out how to safely retrieve it later. Not if you agree after reading this. I really hope that blast didn't take out your sight as well, Sage Torvin. Alright, decision time. Now normally I get to sort of hedge, but... Silent Archive. Remove the scroll and replace it with one of your artifacts to keep the protective magics from ending. Take a closer look at the Silent Archive. A nimbus of magical energy surrounds this scroll, which levitates above the central platform. You see characters upon the parchment, but they seem to shift from one language to the next. Amazing. I had suspected there was more to the Silent Archive than a simple vault. Extraordinary. The scroll must represent thousands of scholarly works. The motion of the characters on the scroll's surface slows as you approach, seemingly in response to your presence. Examine the magical aura surrounding the scroll. Waves of energy radiate out from the scroll, billowing up towards the ceiling and fanning out to encompass the cavernous chamber. It appears that the Silent Archive is an active participant in some sort of ongoing spell, one that is likely keeping the burning library standing. Removing the scroll would assuredly have disastrous effects upon the active spell. Analyze the active spell. This must be the time stasis spell referenced in Sage Arwell's letter. Judging by the bodies arranged around the Silent Archive, the mages seem to have been successful in their attempts to halt the destruction of Kairos' edict, though they did not survive the process. Identify the spell's focus. Sage Liloti's experiments with foci clearly paid off. The spell protecting the burning library is operating at a massive scale, its chaotic energies currently stabilized by the Silent Archive itself. By the way, Vanguard Master, did you have any opinions on the new gaming news? Not keeping up to date? Electronic Arts is going to be a private company for a while. Yeah. Silver Lake, the Saudi Sovereign Wealth Fund, I think called Savvy Gaming, and it starts with an A. I want to say Acheron Partners, but I think that's wrong. Yeah, no, it's a... actually, you know what? That's slightly bugging me. Let me see. I know I'm being a bit of a tease, but... Affinity Partners, sorry, all cash, so 210 a share. I believe, yeah. Sorry, just bear with me a second here. I got a message. I just want to make sure all is well. This is the drawback about tabbing out of the game. I get to... Okay. You were thinking of putting in an offer? Okay, so currently stabilized by the Silent Archive itself. Read the scroll. The parchment surface is impossible to read, ever shifting and convoluted. You see characters from Old Verdant written over calligraphy of the Northern Empire, which transforms into words used by the nomadic tribes of ancient Azure, and then again into phrases of the common tongue of the Tiers. It is as if every word ever written or uttered clashes upon the scroll. Touch the scroll. You reach out to touch the scroll, but as soon as your hand passes through the cloud encasing it, a violent tremor erupts in the hall. The shaking continues for a few seconds and then vanishes. I would proceed cautiously, Fatebinder. Not even these ruins should remain standing after Kairos' edict. I suspect the sages used the Silent Archive in some way to stave off destruction. What are you? As you utter the question, the scroll's surface is suddenly wiped clear. After a moment, words begin to form on the page. Indeed, the Silent Archive is meant to be the final source of knowledge. Every text we have magically transcribed bubbles beneath its surface, waiting to be called forth. For Scribe Gainer, Sage Archival Methodologies, Volume 8. Fatebinder, should this be true, the Silent Archive would be worth more than some of the old realms. The passage fades away, only to be replaced by another. The Silent Archive is the 100-year endeavor of the School of Quillen Inc. As one of its creators and guardians, I have ensured that its knowledge may only be accessed by the sages of my order, and only those specifically charged with such a weighty responsibility. The Silent Archive is thus a glittering jewel that only a few may see. Should the artifact fall into outsider hands, I expect that less than 1 in 100 of its secrets will be revealed in the span of a lifetime. For Sage Arwell, Legacies of the School of Ink and Quill, Volume 20. In the blink of an eye, the scroll's text disappears, only to be replaced by a chaotic swirl of overlapping letters and words. It refuses to respond to any further questions. So, just to be clear, Graven Ash wants you to finish what was started during Kairos' conquest at the Tiers and destroy the Burning Library once and for all, denying the Scarlet Chorus the Library's forbidden knowledge. Now that you've located the Silent Archive, find a way to destroy the Burning Library. Okay, so we're not making progress unless we destroy this place. I'm going to take the Silent Archive. Are you so eager to bring the library down on our heads that you would pull out the only linchpin? So be it.
There's no chance of you putting that back, is there?
That's a nice climax. I like where this has gone. That was definitely a memorable mission. I pride myself on surviving close calls, but I'd appreciate a fucking heads up next time. It's the edict. Is the edict through, or did we forget something inside? Because I'm not going back in there. The air surrounding you begins to thin, and the smell of embers begins to diminish, the clouds of smoke slowly revealing the sky beyond them. You feel a powerful pulse of warm energy burst from the Silent Archive. Sound disappears into a deafening silence. Your vision blurs, and you are overcome by a dizziness that nearly knocks you off your feet. Then, as quickly as it hits you, the feeling passes. The air around you begins to settle, and the particles of fire and ash that moments ago stung your eyes dissipate with a chilly gust. With the silent archive removed from the burning library, the Edict of Fire is extinguished, and its warmth feels pulled into your very chest. So much knowledge turned to smoke and ash. Ending the edict can't undo the damage, but perhaps now the place can be rebuilt. I hope future scholars can unearth whatever remaining books and scrolls are still buried within. I do love watching someone's hard work unravel like an old sweater. If you ever meet Kairos, ask how long it took to draft the Edict of Fire. The sages had better shape up and share their knowledge this time. Hoarding it got them here, and I hate to think that history might repeat itself. The shape and intensity of the fires leap in your mind. The details of the mighty incantation, the wording, the magical logic of the flames are all seared in your mind with perfect recall. The Edict of Fire is now part of you. Thank you for your assistance. I can finish everything else in the library that requires the disfavored's attention while you return to Graven Ash. I will send him my full report as soon as I'm able. Should you need any assistance in the future, you have but to ask. Wait, I gotta turn in a quest with you. Sage's Wrath ability, Knowledge Hunter. Return to Graven Ash and Iron Hearth. And tell him that the burning library is no more. You collapse the burning library, destroying everything within and leaving the sages in disarray. Get over it. Fascinating. I get lore for pissing off the sages. Gotta do that more often. Elena, what am I to do with you? Not only did you sell us out to the Scarlet Chorus, but you used our oath-bound connection against us. In all the history of the disfavored, I've never heard of a more despicable crime. Not even the Scarlet Furies would commit such an atrocity. At the very least, we wouldn't drag the matter out in the open like this. Merrick, they were torturing me. I had no choice. You could have endured by drawing strength from our bond. We would have found you eventually. Merrick massages his brow. Fatebinder, I'm grateful you returned my unit, but I have another problem, Yelena. While I'm sympathetic to the fact that she suffered at the hands of the Chorus, I can't pretend that she didn't betray us. Neither can the rest of my scouts. You have a way with justice and law. Would you mind adjudicating the matter? I'm too knotted up over it to make a clear-headed ruling. I would like to hear what Yelena has to say. Thank you for the opportunity, Fatebinder. I knew that I couldn't endure the Chorus interrogation forever. No one short of Ash has the fortitude for it. You're hardly qualified to judge. Let her talk. I made as if to break under pressure and surrendered the location of 2 scouts. They were both cut off from the rest, and their location wouldn't have given anyone away. Even so, I was saving my strength to send a warning that would alert the rest of you about the Chorus movements, even to those I betrayed. I didn't say that to excuse my actions, just to offer some context. The fallen scouts may haunt me for the rest of my days, but Merrick and the others may live richer, fuller lives on their behalf. Merrick, does this change anything for you? Must admit that I had not considered this interpretation of events. Pauses. Yelena caused the deaths of some, but only for the sake of sparing others. When you frame it that way, she did indeed rely on the strength of her brethren. There is no action more disfavored than that. Fatebinder, I retract my request for a ruling. No judgment is necessary. Yelena is free and welcome to rejoin her unit. Yelena, pack your things and get ready to move out. Thank you, Merrick. And thank you too, Fatebinder. I vow to strengthen the disfavored through loyalty and deed. I missed the opportunity to get some lore, but I'll take it. Thank you for your assistance. I can finish anything else in the library that required the disfavor's attention. Okay, yeah, we've got that. A young man in singed and tattered clothes notices your approach and salutes with a strange gesture. Well, that's not it, is it? He drops his arm to his side in defeat. apologize, Fatebinder. I'm fairly new to all of this. He attempts to mask the sudden crack in his voice by clearing his throat. I've been dispatched from Iron Hearth to act as quartermaster here at... He looks around at the state of the scorched earth all around him. Whatever this place is. Teach him the proper disfavored salute. You take his arm and hand in yours, pressing his fist tightly together and thrusting it towards his chest. He lets out a sudden gasp of air before collecting himself. See, thank you, Fatebinder. How did you come into Ash's service? His face droops downward. Where I come from in the north, we don't have much. My brother sent for me to join him in Iron Hearth, serve the soldiers there, and earn a wage of some kind. His eyes begin to waver into a crestfallen cascade toward a gaze that rests at his feet. By the time I'd arrived, he'd sent off to serve the garrison at Vendrian's Well Citadel. I'm sure you're well aware of what happened there. Let me see your wares. So at this point, I was hoping just to sell some stuff. I'll keep with the one of everything. I should probably evaluate these. Fragments of the shoulder armor worn by disfavored stone shields and crescent runners. The sigil of the disfavored, once worn proudly, has been deliberately ripped to pieces. This spalder can be sold to a merchant as spare parts. Shattered glass vial. Smells of leather oil waft from this broken vial. While useless as a container, broken glassware is often recycled into peasant jewelry or crushed up and baked into food to surreptitiously kill dinner guests. The glass can be sold to a merchant as spare parts. Fragment of a bloodchanter's cloak. The scarlet-dyed swatch of fabric is embroidered with swirling sigils of the Bloodchanter School of Magic. This cloak fragment can be sold to a merchant as spare parts. Rusted iron sword. This jagged piece of scrap metal issued to Scarlet Chorus conscripts outlived its usefulness several owners ago. Still, a few hundred of these clutched in desperate hands can make a startling difference on the battlefield. This rusted sword can be sold to a merchant as spare parts. Bent bronze dagger, blunted and corroded, this knife's blade is creased and stressed into uselessness. This blade can be sold to a merchant as spare parts. While no longer worthy of combat, this broken armor can be sold to a merchant as spare parts. How you doing, Decree? Good to see you. Iron brand. This hunk of wrought iron is used to sear the the counterclockwise twist into the flesh of Scarlet Chorus recruits. Those who cannot endure the searing mark are deemed unfit for even the most menial chore in the chorus, and such unfit recruits become teamsters or corpses depending on their capacity for manual labor. You can sell this to a merchant as spare parts. And Scarlet Notebook. A red spiral is carved on the wooden cover of this papyrus notebook. The handwriting within is haphazard and inscrutable, the work of an unpracticed, poorly trained wordcaster. A few entries contain recognizable sentences, and the book appears to be the journal of a Scarlet Chorus commoner detailing troop movements. Times and locations are noted alongside numbers and pictures of trees, stick figures, and rocks. The author either didn't know the words for lumber, ore, and people, or just felt more comfortable with pictures than words. While much of the journal is inscrutable, the corner of every page has the day's head count for the author's brigade. While some days note dozens of losses, the brigade appears to be recruiting far faster than its members are dying or deserting. Doesn't seem like the sort of thing I would want to not destroy, but delete or sell, so just hang on to that. I'll keep the really valuable stuff. I don't know exactly what I'm holding it for, but there we go. Again, I still don't know what knocked Lantry down. I'm sure I just wasn't paying attention, but I should say, I don't know how much you like the VODs and things like that, but we destroyed the burning library, which had a nice little closing, so if you fancy seeing that. Deserted battleground. During the conquest, an enclave of sages clashed with disfavored scouts at this location. Though the sages have long been dispersed or killed, the location may still contain useful resources. This location has been unlocked due to conquest decisions. Encounter at the burning library. Amidst a copse of blackened trunks, you find a stretch of cloudy water. Faint tendrils of steam rise from the surface in slender curls. Thin brown grass grows almost to the water's edge before giving way to bare-grained stone dusted with a thin layer of soot. A scent of brimstone hangs in the warm, stagnant air, joined by something else, the faintest vibration of a power just beyond your human perception. The water seems to issue from a small cavern set into a hillock 100 yards north. So collect water, set camp and sleep, examine the cave, bathe in the water, move on. So examine the cave. The water trickles out from a gap in the stones. It seems small at first glance, but you quickly realize that the water is deeper here, and that, while it would certainly be wet work, you can easily enter the cave if you so choose. Explore the cave. Stripping down to your small clothes, you step into the warm water and make your way into the darkness of the cave. Once within, your eyes quickly adjust to the gloom, and you find a small chamber of stone before the tunnel dips lower, deep into the water and inaccessible. The chamber itself is comfortable, the light from without slipping in across the surface of the water, dappling the cracked roof with caustic patterns. You find nothing further in the cave, and make your way back out to the surface. Sure, we'll bathe in the water. You strip off your soot-stained garments before gingerly stepping into the warm water. You wade out into the pool, then lower yourself into its heat. It seems to settle into your pores and meander along your tendons, settling into your joints. As sweat beads across your brow, your muscles perceptibly relax, stiffness fleeing into the wet. Taking up a spare scrap of cloth, you wipe yourself clean of the dust and grime of the road, starting with the oil of your face and finishing with the muck that is settled between your toes. Isn't this what we have verse for? By the time you finish, perhaps due to some quality of the water, you feel more clean and calm than you have in your entire life. Even the baths at Tunon's court do not compare to this natural wonder. Bonus magic defense. Cool.
Can't do that.
I thought they said there was going to be some magic. Alright, well, I won't complain. I mean, obviously, it's better to have more stuff than not. It will take you 1 day, 19 hours, 45 minutes to complete your journey from the deserted battlegrounds to the ocean spire, the Blade Grave. So I'm curious how long it takes me to get to the mountain spire. The exact same time. We could have said hi to Graven Ash, but we didn't. How may I serve you today, Fatebinder? What's the status of your research? I'm happy to say we've made great progress. He beams at you and exhales a welcome breath. Allow me to show you my findings. Sure, we'll research stuff from the Silent Archive. Your recruits are busy researching the Silent Archive. Don't really think there's that much for us to interact with here. We've already collected the items, so I believe we're back to Iron Hearth. Return to Graven Ash at Iron Hearth and tell him that the burning library is no more. Alright, sounds good, Vanguard Master. Enjoy your break. Technically, I'm already an hour past where I normally would be just because of the interruption from the ISP, but I'm not opposed to going a little bit longer.
Can't do that.
Mostly I just kind of want to finish off the quest that I'm on, and then we can decide what the next step is. Oh, hang on. We've got conversations with everybody.
It is rare enough that anyone has the opportunity to proclaim an edict, much less break one. How are you holding up, Fatebinder?
I toy with powers greater than my understanding, and yet I don't stop.
At least you are aware of your recklessness. I would be more concerned if the case was otherwise. Take care that you don't exhaust yourself and become worthless to the war effort.
Barrick looks you up and down with appraisal, keeping any conclusions to himself.
What can I do for you?
Don't think there's much new to talk about. You've carved out a real knack for yourself by breaking the Overlord's edicts left and right. Whatever Tunon is paying you for your services, I'd say you're due for a raise. How does it feel? Not only have you given voice to the Overlord's will, but you're breaking Kairos magic left and right. Exposing myself to powers I don't understand. War's about taking risks, and you're putting yourself out there more than anyone. Can't help but respect that. I'm here if you need me, but I don't have a mind for arcane wisdom. I'll do whatever I can to get our little gang through this war, and if it ever looks like your strength is flagging, I'll put you out of your misery and take control. Cheer up.
What do you need?
That's twice now. By Kyros's icy nethers, twice! Edicts have been broken before, but never in all my many years have I heard of one person doing it twice.
I like most of these are pretty amusing. So quit being awestruck and write this down for future generations. Or Maybe later I'll slay an Archon. Still planning my day. Or anybody can do it. Just think about the wording of the edict and you'll find Kairos has left options. Yeah, I think this seems to be the best. Anybody can do it. Just think about the wording of the edict and you'll find Kairos has left options.
That's like saying winning a war is as simple as raising a giant army and making all the right maneuvers. Knowing what must be done and actually doing it, well, that's the dividing line between being a legend and being forgotten.
So what's on your mind? Do you want to discuss matters of the present, or would you prefer a more scholarly rant? I just want any new information.
Right.
Disturbing news has arrived at Iron Hearth regarding your conduct at the Burning Library. I will let your report speak for itself, but let it be known that I have misgivings. Ash worries the ends of his beard and looks to you with an air of expectation. First things first, the Edict of Fire. It is truly over then. I satisfied the terms of Kairos' edict. Cautious wording, if I ever heard it. Be assured, Fatebinder, that your conduct is always under scrutiny. Tunon is not the only Archon with a vested interest in your behavior. I've stayed up nights wondering if the flames of Kairos' wrath might spread out from the library and consume the whole of the tiers. But that is ridiculous. The Overlord would never allow such a fate to befall us. Thank you for putting an old man's fears to rest. I have other questions for you first. What is it you require? Can the connection between you and your soldiers be severed? Barrick quickly turns to face you, but says nothing. Only in death, one bushy eyebrow rises. Why do you ask? So you can't rescind it, say, in the case of a traitor? Were a legionnaire to abandon their loyalty to me and survive my subsequent wrath, then likely all bonds would break between us. The limits of my abilities, however, are not so cleanly defined as an Earthshaker's sigils. Good I asked. Let's discuss what's next. What do you want to know? A return from the Burning Library. Then the Scarlet Chorus had been ousted from the contested lands, and the forbidden knowledge wrenched from their grasp? Tell me more. Merrick is well and in the contested lands. Good. He can help maintain the peace and ensure that the wisdom of the sages falls into no undeserving hands. Have you anything else to report? I killed the censor and her gang. The Tears will not miss another louse or her brood of vermin, and neither will I. Good work. Have you anything else to report? I have the Silent Archive. You, Fatebinder, I tasked you with keeping the Archive away from prying eyes, not claiming it yourself. Surely you can't help but recognize this as a breach of Kairos' law. I need the knowledge of the Archive in order to conduct this war. Forbidden knowledge that Kairos decreed no one should have the freedom to access? I think not, Fatebinder. You would do just as well with honest combat and good sense on your side. Have you anything else to report? That's all. What are our next steps? Our advantage against our enemies grows, and we cannot miss an opportunity to strike a decisive victory against the Archon of Secrets. You have been an asset of unsurpassed value, but there is still more to be done. Now that we have 2 regions under our control, the disfavored's presence is felt almost throughout all of the tiers. This is as strong as we've ever been. Ash gives you a determined nod, but there is something behind it that takes you by surprise. Then you notice he's gone pale, his eyes unfocused. The Archon shakes his head and collects himself. When he shifts his attention to you, you catch a momentary confusion reflected in his gaze. as if he's trying to account for the last several seconds. Saw that look plenty of times on the family farm. It's never a good sign. Someone's getting ready to be put out to pasture. General, we await your orders at your leisure. Beric tips his head at the Archon with concern. The time has come for us to gather and descend upon the Stone Sea, where the voices of Narat and his gangs have dug their miserable warren. Once we've dealt with the Archon, I plan to melt down his twisted helmet and drop it in the deepest ocean. First, we have to secure a base in the region. That will give us a position of strength to rally our fighters and take the war to the Archon's doorstep. Are you ready? You look pale, Ash. Anything I can do to assist? If I look weary, it's because that damnable Archon of Secrets has vexed me for too long by far. We are better rid of him, and I won't have you wasting time on issues that don't concern you. He takes several deep breaths and regards you with intensity you haven't seen before. Do you truly think you can defeat the Archon of Secrets? Do you doubt it? I'm not naive to the Archon's power. The voices of Narat uses madness to cloak his brilliance, but never mistake it. He is mad. Cold tactics and logical approach will always win out against the likes of him. I'm ready. Where do I start? I sent an advanced unit of disfavored forces into the Stone Sea, but the Scarlet Chorus presence in the region has been threatened in the location called Howling Rock. I dispatched a support unit to assist, which you can find at Jagged Maw Shrine. They will need your help in clearing a path to Howling Rock. What can I expect to find there? Since the region of Azure fell to ruin, the population of wild beastmen has expanded significantly. No doubt the Scarlet Chorus have used this to their advantage and seek to conscript as many of the brutes into their mob as possible. The city of Halfgate is their last bastion of stability, though of course it's held by the Scarlet Chorus now. Why does the support unit need my help? A tribe of beastmen occupies the region, and they aren't quick to tolerate a human element in which they imagine to be their territory. They are no concern of mine, so cut down as many as you see fit to complete the mission. Garb yourself in their skins for all I care. Just get my soldiers through. Beasts are more than capable fighters, and they ripped more than one of our countrymen to shreds during the conquest. Ash has no love lost for their kind. My Earthshakers have a plan to blight the land, starving the Scarlet Chorus in their home territory. Offer them any help they need, and see my will done upon the voices of Narat. We are nearly at the end. I can feel the Archon's doom ahead of us like the peace at the end of slaughter. Farewell. You've been witness to your own unique ability to ascend to the tops of spires. These monolithic structures serve as excellent bases of operation. In order to bolster the war efforts of the tiers, you should seek out more spires. Perhaps by doing so, you might uncover more of the mystery behind their power, and why you have such an affinity for them. Across the tiers, there are a number of spires that dot the horizon. The two you have claimed have proven to be a valuable asset to the war effort in the tiers. Claiming the rest should help you widen your conquest. There's a spire located in the Stone Sea. However, due to the Edict of Stone, navigating the chasms of the region may prove difficult in determining its location. And one of the spires located in the Stone Sea, known as the Aurora Spire. However, the region is teeming with beastmen, and the Edict of Stone crumbles all known paths to it. You will need to know another route. Trial of the Archons. His favorite soldiers encroached on a Scarlet Chorus operation in the Stone Sea. Territory legally claimed by the voices of Narat. The tiers will shake. With 2 areas of the tiers under disfavored control, Graven Ash has decided that the time is right to press forward into the Stone Sea. Your first task will be to travel to Jagged Maw Shrine and meet with 2 disfavored operatives. Travel to Jagged Maw Shrine and meet with disfavored forces stationed there. We've got a couple here, so Fatebinder Rogalus. A matter archival. Fatebinder Solon, forgive me the curtness of this rushed missive. The matter is too urgent for the luxury of formalities. I know that you braved the flaming ruins of the Vellum Citadel. The archive. Did you find it? Is it safe? Fatebinder Rogalus, naturally I saved the archive. Why would I destroy the culmination of centuries of sage learning when it could be turned to better uses? It is an impressive artifact. Perhaps one day I will have to show it to you. Fatebinder, you are to report to the bastard city at once. Be prompt, lest I mistake your tardiness for reluctance. Archon Tunon, as you request, I will appear in your court in good time. Okay, so I'm probably going to wrap up reasonably soon, but I figure I can at least try to... We'll see what kind of time it takes to get to the Bastard City. That should at least give me time to send the missives off and possibly do a little bit of research. It'd be nice if I had a clearer idea of what the path looks like. Encounter in the Blade Grave. A man stands on the side of the road ahead. He flies no heraldry and makes no move to acknowledge you. He wears no armor. If he is armed, his weapon isn't visible. Approach him. The man doesn't move at all until you've almost reached him. Only then does his gaze turn towards you, his vacant eyes slow to focus as you approach. Ah. He draws out the vowel. His lungs can no longer sustain it. Custom. Custom? He frowns as he lapses into silence. Then, after a moment... Karlek. I am Karlek, purveyor of fine exotic goods. That which you don't know you need. I have, all for prices unreasonable. He blinks rapidly. Unreasonably good, that is. See them then. Wise choice, he nods, head bobbing bird-like. Wise choice. I am not interested in any of this. All right, so unfortunately we don't get to progress on the research, but I think we made the right choice going to the spire. Excellent. We await your return. Dear Fatebinder Solon, rarely in my life have I experienced relief to the extent that your missive inspired. No other action you have taken to this point, incredible as many of them have been, has impressed me so thoroughly. The vagueness of the better uses of which you spoke could concern one with less faith in your judgment. Once the Civil War concludes, you and I shall have to study the archive thoroughly so as to determine what aspects of it can be saved and which must be purged under the law. There a reason for you gaping at me like I just gutted you, kid? Or do you like to stand around and stare? That bracer you're wearing is rather eye-catching. Bet you're thinking something like it'd look even better on you, right, kid? This? He waves his left arm in the air, examining the blacker-than-black bracer. The strapping armlet that appears simultaneously solid as obsidian and diaphanous as a sigh. Almost a living, pulsing thing. That'd be my binding of shadows. Want it? Damn straight I do. With a gruff grunt and some difficulty, he ratchets the bracer off, so it is solid after all, and tosses it to you one-handed. Careful with it, he warns when you accept the gift. Not only weapons can be double-edged swords. I was not expecting that. It's heavy armor though, so darn.
Yes.
Fatebinder, you return. Rogalus looks you up and down with an inscrutable expression. Okay, not much to say, so.
You return as summoned, despite the weight of responsibility on your shoulders. The court appreciates your devotion to our good work. It should come as no surprise that your activities are closely monitored. As an extension of Kairos' law in the frontier, your progress is a topic of some interest. I sent you on a mission to bring order to the chaos of this civil war. Not enough time has passed for me to expect any significant progress, but I am curious about your findings all the same. I want to make sure your time outside the court's shadow is being used effectively. I understand that you've made a name for yourself in the ranks of the disfavored. Good. With the confidence of his soldiers, you should have no trouble rooting out corruption or chaos in Graven Ash's elite legion.
I'm happy to be an asset to Kairos' forces and to pull chaos out by the root.
That is all this court has ever demanded of you. You do well to recall your duties with such exacting precision. You have spent some time on your own recognizance. The efforts of our military and the challenges they face should be no mystery to you. Tell me, are you any closer to determining which of the Archons is at fault for the troubles of this campaign?
Do not have sufficient information to make an informed accusation.
Come now. Your decision does not bind you to an accusation at this time. I only wish to know if you have had success uncovering any evidence of misdeed or malfeasance. If you believe either of the Archons has acted in a manner not befitting their station, give voice to it.
There is no question the Voices of Nerat is guilty of inciting chaos.
Interesting. On what grounds do you make this claim?
The Voices of Nerat gave the disfavored battle plans to the stalwart defenders. The adjudicator weighs your statement with interest. The space between the eyes of his mask narrows, though the change is too gradual for you to follow.
Material evidence is hallowed to the court. I respect your diligence in collecting it, Fatebinder. You bring hope to my ambitions of bringing order to this divisive campaign. Be sure that you remember this and any other evidence you identify when you are called upon to present your findings in a more formal manner. I look forward to receiving your full report. I will summon you again at the appropriate time. If there's nothing further, you're dismissed.
I have some questions first. What is it you wish to know? I wish to speak about matters of law. Then you are well situated, for my court is the legal heart of this corrupt and uncivilized realm. What matters draw your curiosity? You are already well versed in Kairos' laws, but I am happy to discuss particulars. I'm curious about the restriction on forbidden knowledge. Kairos herself sets the standards of what can and cannot be known. These restrictions are rarely enforced, but they are worth taking into account. During the war, for example, Kairos deemed the knowledge of the Vellum Citadel taboo. No one may possess the wisdom of that fallen repository, save Kairos herself. Calling it taboo seems like a bit like overkill, but to play Kairos' advocate, the world would hardly be safer if all had access to the lore of making poisons, or the art of arming brigands in fine bronze. This is for the protection of her subjects. Before the coming of Kairos, during the ages of anarchy and discord, powerful knowledge in undeserving hands leveled empires without thought or mercy. Kairos has no desire to revisit those dark times. That's all for now. Farewell. Okay, so if I were to go back to the library, I've got two options here. Not quite ready to go to Cacophony, not that I have the option anyway. But yeah, I think we'll go to the library. Excuse me. How may I serve you today, Fatebinder? What's the status of your research? I'm happy to say I've made great progress. He beams at you and exhales a welcome breath. Allow me to show you my findings. So this one's just so I can get the loot. All right, and I think I'm gonna leave it there. So overall plans, it's pretty clear I want to get the spires, but I'm also going to assume that the game is going to sort of force me... Well, let's just double check that. So it says, travel to Jagged Boss Shrine to meet the disfavored Forsons stationed there. So Halfgate would be, in theory, out of the two locations opened up, this would be the one that potentially takes me on a different path. An otherwise unremarkable pit stop that marked the eastern border of the Great Stone Plains. Due to the Stone Sea's great quakes, the village of Plainsgate was bisected, half of its buildings falling deep into the cavern below. From that point forward, it was known as Halfgate. And double checking... there's a spire located in the Stone Sea. However, due to the Edict of Stone, navigating the chasms of the region may prove difficult in determining its location. One of the spires located in the Stone Sea is known as the Aurora Spire. However, the region is teeming with beastmen, and the Edict of Stone crumbles all known paths to it. You'll need to find another route. So it's not at all clear why I need to go to the... why I need to go to one of the other, or why it unlocked a second location. But that's kind of, for me, reason enough to investigate. But I am an hour later than I'd planned to be. I don't find that a bad thing, but I do probably need to wrap up just so I can, get a little bit more done. I'm actually kind of hungry, but it's late to be eating, I feel like. I don't know. We'll see. But thank you, everybody, for watching. So I do plan, at the very least on Wednesday, to be doing some more Tyranny. Depending on how I'm feeling, I may change it up on Friday. So it's either going to be Cyberpunk or Tyranny. I will say, on a forward-looking basis, I don't want to be doing just one game for every stream. But I am actually quite liking Tyranny, and I want, where I can, I want to try and, I don't know, like if I can get through it, so much the better. But I do want to finish off some of the games that I've got going. I would like to get some strategy back into the rotation. But right now I'm just looking to wrap up some of the existing games that I have, and then making plans moving forward. So let's host W. Shandless. He is playing Baby Steps, which, if I recall correctly, is, I think, co-designed by Bennett Foddy. I definitely feel like this was one that got quite a bit of attention in one of the showcases. But yeah, anyways, W. Shand is definitely a nice fellow. I knew him in Vancouver when I lived there. And he usually puts on a good, if not strange, show. So I will leave you in his capable hands. Again, thanks for everybody for watching. I will see you on Wednesday for more Tyranny. Till then, take care.